Tonight's Cover One Buffalo podcast is powered by BetUS and brought to you by our friends at William & Tire Law Offices. But first, our friends, Handsome Jack.
Broadcasting live to Bills Mafia Worldwide with Greg Tompsett and Aaron Quinn.
Welcome to the NFL.
Doesn't matter what's happened before today. Today's a brand new day. It's a brand new season.
Your number one podcast for objective Buffalo Bills coverage. No matter where you are, we got you covered.
Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how are you doing?
Andy, are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine. It's just that life is pointless and nothing matters, and I'm always tired. Also, I can't sleep. I'm overeating. None of my old hobbies interest me.
It's so accurate.
That is the most accurate description of the way that I feel. I love doing the show. I love talking to you. I love chatting Bills. It's honestly the last I don't even want to. I don't want to do the things that I like right now. I still need time from this. It's been a tough week. It started with, unfortunately, right when we got off post game when we last saw you guys, I stayed up till like 3 a.m. and rewatched that night. Like just in
absolute sicko.
In the dark.
There's so much wrong with you.
Oh my God, it was so painful. And then obviously I've gone through the all 22. I haven't even been posting. Like, it's so depressing. I'll like fire up the all 22, watch for 30-40 minutes and just like pace my house in disgust. I don't know. I haven't recovered fully. This is the longest it's taken me. I usually recover quicker than this, Greg.
I started Shrinking on Apple TV.
Yeah.
With Harrison Ford and Jason, whatever his name is, Siegel.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's
pretty good.
Cute.
I had to just completely turn it off. I went through, I swapped out my wardrobe. Like I had, obviously I wear an insane amount of Bills clothes during the season, and I put away a ton of it. I put them away and I switched everything out, and I just had to just force myself to move on. It's just like I even in previous years where we had disappointing endings, I still was excited about the Super Bowl because it's a Super Bowl and the Super Bowl is fun. This is easily the least interest I've ever had in a Super Bowl ever. Like I won't lie and say I'm not going to watch it. Of course I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it, but like, I don't care at all. I don't even care who wins. Like I'm not like, I guess a piece of me, I guess the Eagles, but I don't even want someone else to beat the Chiefs and not us. Like I don't care. I don't care.
No, I'm taking solid. Like even this week, I had a lot of buffalo chicken dip left over, so I've been eating that for a few days, and that's how I feel about the Super Bowl is like, all right, one more chance to like make a bunch of food and eat and watch football. We're not gonna have football for a long time, so I'm always gonna watch, right? Like,
of course.
It's the Super Bowl, but yeah, no, it's not super interesting. Pro Bowl stinks. That's a shame. The nice thing, if there is a bit of a silver lining, is our season still isn't ending as late as we want it to, but it's ending later than everybody else's.
Yeah, it later than 28 other teams.
Yeah, and as content creators, man, like I do remember the days of it ending a month ago or more. And like you had all kinds of time. It's like, I'll start into draft work and you're already like a month ahead on that stuff. And so for content creators, it shortens the calendar. Like we were just taking a look at the calendar here for the year. So at least
sneak behind the curtain for everybody else. Aaron and I sketched out our schedule. We know every single show we're going to do between now and kickoff of next season. We just sketched out every single show of what we're doing.
It's short and it comes in little bursts here. And so that also helps us when you're finishing your season this late. It helps that the Senior Bowl is this weekend. It's like, like I can transition into this other part of football and kind of wash that loss behind me and move forward. Because really that's all we can do, right? Is as terrible as that felt, as terrible as it was to watch back multiple times, I'm still loaded with optimism. I think that's where the weird feeling is like, I know that wasn't the end. I know we're in a really good spot. I am excited about what lies ahead in March and April and how they're going to add to this team. But gosh, like that's just that cloud is still lingering over me as we move towards that process.
Yeah, and I'll share some things at the end of the show just on the approach to things and how I process it. I had that weird rant where I just kind of had a stream of consciousness of all the things going through my head, and um, I do think that some of the like ring culture in a lot of all sports has really messed with a lot of things. Like sports are entertainment. Sports are my favorite entertainment. Football specifically is my favorite sports entertainment. I was entertained as heck the last 6 months. This was awesome. This was a really fun season. We just played in the AFC Championship game. I said each of the 2 weeks of the playoffs that, going into this week, one fan base of a championship caliber team who had an awesome season is going to go home disappointed because Baltimore, KC, and Buffalo are all in the same tier. They were all capable of winning a Super Bowl, and only one of them was going to go to the Super Bowl and might not even win. I could totally see Philadelphia's offensive and defensive line dominating that game and KC not even winning
for sure.
And honestly, I don't want to kid myself. They could have done it to us too. We might have made 100%. It and not even won. But it doesn't make it any easier because people have built up all the excitement. I think some of the weird stuff I've said it about, we've seen it now in identity politics and identity sports and identity fanhood in all like a specific musician that people like tie their entire identity around. Like it's a weird thing that's become more and more common. So I get it. Like it's happening with so many people that I understand it's a thing, but it's just super weird to me. Like that, like I want a Super Bowl so badly. I have, I talked before, like I have my grandfather's ashes. Like I want to spread them at a Super Bowl parade. I want that moment hugging my parents and my family and jumping around. It'll be an awesome memory and I will cherish it. Like it will be a favorite memory of mine. Like I can think back on other awesome favorite moments. And then the next week, my life will be the same. It's like my life will still be the same. It'll still be my life. Like I'll still be doing the things I need to do. So it's just weird the way that we built it up to be this thing where this is now some huge failure and we need to fire people. And I don't feel that way. I understand it. That's how people process and vent, and they need there to be repercussions. They need there to be an answer. Someone has to answer for this. But, well, I don't know. We just won. How many? We won 15 games total. How many games we win?
Yeah,
15?
something like that.
13 games and 2 playoff games. Pretty good.
Yeah. Nothing drastic has to happen. I do understand the concept of for every year that it's a failure is a year more like where that is feeling tighter where something has to change. And I don't know where the ROI on staying invested into the regime is. Like I'm not sure if Sean McDermott's the guy to get us over the top. I don't know if Brandon Beane's the GM to pull the levers to get us over the top, but they gotten us within plays of being close enough. The proposition of changing that because it feels bad doesn't weigh in the amount of risk associated. Like the risk is so much more substantial, I think, than the people that call for those things want to admit. And Greg, at the end of the day, man, like your point, I had so much fun this year for 15 weeks of the last 7 months of my life. We
scored 30 points 15 times.
Yeah, celebrating with friends. And it wasn't just the games, man. It's the lead up to the games. It's the people interacting with us every single week. The habit of doing
some really good meat.
Like, had a lot of fun. I felt like personally, like I had growth as a creator doing this show. Like this felt like a good, positive season. I enjoyed engaging with fans week in and week out, whether it's what you do with the steaks, what I do with the breakfast sandwiches, like those small fun things. And to me, that's a success. And I guarantee you, Terry Pagula is doing these end of year meetings and they are kicking back with champagne and cigars and talking about what great successes the Buffalo Bills organizationally had this year. One of the best organizations right now in football. And that's kind of the nuance around how it ended. Yet nobody met their goals. Josh is pissed. Like he doesn't feel good about it. But at the end of the day, this is a good football franchise with a lot of hope ahead, a lot of optimism.
And I think what I would share, and a couple of the super chats coming in here, you guys are awesome. Appreciate it very, very much. Rick here saying, thanks for another great season of coverage. I'm extremely optimistic about the future of the team. We were very close, one defensive game wrecker away. I will say, if anyone's ready to pivot into silver linings and looking forward, having so many young guys locked up, so many guys ready to extend without needing to hurt the cap too bad, and 10 draft picks, like, there is reason to be excited going forward here. There's a lot of good things to be excited about. And Patton saying here, the receipts will last a lifetime, or at least an off season. I will be insufferable. And don't get me wrong. I'm not downplaying how much fun I'll have if we ever do lift that trophy. I can see the people who very obviously don't have a lot to be happy about in life and like needed that to be the thing that made them feel good about themselves. Like, that's an unhealthy way to approach. Like, it should not affect your self-worth and how you feel as a person. It should be a really cool moment and like a fun, exciting thing. It should not impact how you feel. And you can tell there are people that now are flailing around defensively about this, and that's super weird. The point that you brought up is 100% valid in that I'm not going to stomp or stand for McDermott and Beane. I'm past that. They're both good enough. I think they've both made good things. They've also both done enough things that if we get to that point that we need to move on, I'm not going to throw a fit. Like, hey, you want to know what? Maybe something does have to change. I don't think so. I wouldn't do that. I don't expect Tara Pagudlo to do that. He's obviously not going to do this offseason. But at some point, if we have to, we have to. But I'll say there are a lot of people very ready to do that and run around with a ton of examples, specifically with, well, Brandon Beane did this. Look at this draft. This is why we're never going to win a Super Bowl with Brandon Beane. Look at this decision Sean McDermott made. This is why we're never going to make a Super Bowl with Sean McDermott. If I don't see a whole lot of people saying, well, look at this, the start and the first two throws Josh made. That's why we're never going to win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen. Look at Josh not picking up that. How did he not know that Spagnuolo was there? And how did you not adjust the protection to the right to be ready on that fourth down play? We're never going to win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen. Yeah. You could pick out those same things there, and I don't see anybody doing that.
Everybody loved Babbage this year and wanted more man coverage. And then when we did it and the results were terrible, yeah. We're all like, no, well, not in that way.
Why don't you blitz more and run more man coverage? No, not like that.
And Adam Petzel did a post even with McDermott, like the conversation around him over the last year, he's changed the narrative to what people have wanted from him, right? Like looser, allowing Brady to control the offense.
Let the players be themselves,
being
joking around,
making aggressive play calls, and none of that made the difference. So like, again, maybe they aren't the guys. It's hard to do in this league. A lot of the guys that we talk highly of as coaches only won one in their 15, 20 years.
Andy Reid won a Super Bowl in his 20th season of coaching.
Yeah, now he can't stop, but
correct. It'd be really cool if he would stop. But it was his 20th season.
Yeah,
that he did that.
Yeah, and people don't want to wait that long. I get it. And he got fired, right, to move along somewhere else. And I've heard people make that case. Yeah, he needed Mahomes. And a lot of things have to go right. I don't know. Again, he might not be the guy. I'm not trying to, like, it's a fine line of having a defense of good enough doesn't mean that I'm standing for that. Like, if something presented itself in the next year or two and, like, you're still bumping your head into a wall, well, then I do think people have to evaluate, but I think we're a year or two away from something like totally. It would have to, you say it all the time, Greg, it would have to be like wheels fall off.
Yes.
6-win season with a healthy Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Yeah. Any season where a healthy Josh Allen doesn't make the playoffs, fire everybody. Everybody. That's a failure. That is a failure. Winning the division a fifth time in a row, winning a playoff game or two for the fifth time in a row, going to the AFC Championship game, and losing 29-32 where we had the ball with 3.5 minutes left with an opportunity to drive down and score the game-winning touchdown. It not happening isn't cool. It sucked a lot. But, like, saying that we were that close to that happening and, like, both those teams played good games. Both those teams...
And bad games. They both played good and bad.
Both of those teams gave the other team moments where, like, both teams had a chance to, like, grab that game by the throat. The Chiefs at the end of the first half there, they had a chance to grab that game by the throat and maybe blow us out.
It should have been 28-10 realistically.
Yeah, like easily could have grabbed us by the throat there and made that, a much uglier game. We had that drive and, like, yes, am I mad about I think we actually converted the fourth down? Of course. I think we converted the fourth down. I like every biased fan, of course I think that. And plenty of objective people think that too. However, we probably could have done something better to not leave it up to a ref to decide there. And that, yes, if we drive down a score on that drive and we go up by 2 scores, I think we probably win and go to the Super Bowl. And that would have been cool. But we were that close to doing that. People now taking being that close and conflating that into horrific failure where we need to fire everybody involved and start from scratch and everything there. Like,
I think it's the minority. I think we do get caught up on
it's a
social
vocal
media.
minority.
It's a vocal 25, maybe 30% of fans. I think most people.
It's probably lower than that percentage-wise.
Yeah, because I do think even this year, Sean McDermott won over some haters. Not like the real ones that their names are associated to it online, where they're like "Fire McDermott 0967." Yeah, like
their screen name.
Those people are not changing their minds. They have built the literal identities around it. But like, I think a lot of people have had a change of heart of like, okay, like he appeared different this year. He was, like I said, looser, aggressive in the moments we need him to be. The game had individual like moments where the staff was out coached, but I don't know that it was like a Sean McDermott let down any point in this game that caused you to lose this one. And so to me, I think he probably won over some fans here throughout the year and in not calling for his job. I think it's a sort of a false thing we see on social media.
Yeah. I will say there are some people who should lose their job. There are some people that I'd like to see fired. I
mean, we'll find out tomorrow. I don't think it'll happen.
I'll be completely honest. I'm a little unhappy that it hasn't come out yet. It makes me feel like it's not going to happen, and that makes me sad.
So for people, they are speaking around noon tomorrow. Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are doing their end of year season wrap up meeting,
State of the Union
stuff. So if there is like changes, that would be a time where they may release it. It might not come out in the press conference, but in the media, kind of around that time, they would put something out. I'm not expecting it, unfortunately, even though everything tells
that. I don't like that you said that.
Like, I don't know. I think that he's appreciates the loyalty in that and thinks that the Smiley really will improve and get better. I believe what he says in the press conferences. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope tomorrow that's the one change that we make to the staff.
Yeah, there's a couple others I'd be okay with, but yes, in general, this is a good coaching staff. We're going to talk tonight. We have Coach of the Year and some other awards that we're going to be doing, but it's still wild. So again, there's just some high level thoughts. Obviously, everyone's disappointed. It's a huge frustration to get so close and have it not come up. And as Brad here says, for anyone who's a Sabres fan, which I won't pretend to be, I don't know anything about hockey. Brad warning people, ask Pegula to find a new GM head coach combo at your own risk.
That's a big part of it, man. Do you trust him?
I believe that's coming from like the idea and, showing, I've talked multiple times about when that consultant group was hired by the Browns and 3 out of the 4 people involved wanted Sean McDermott to take over. And the owner comes in and says, no, we're going to go with, and he got the guy who went 0-16 as the Browns coach. So bald head Johnson. No. Somebody in the chat, tell me the name of the horrible Browns coach. Nick Lowe, you're awesome, man. Thank you for doing this. Here's to preparing for the anxiety of 2025.
Hugh Jackson.
Bring the Hugh Jackson. Thank you. Omori got it. So appreciate you guys.
Sorry, guys. Nicholas, you're the man, dude.
He was the worst. And Nick, you're awesome, dude. We appreciate you so much. Very, very generous of you. We appreciate you guys have been great to us the last couple of shows. Yeah. Aaron and I put in a lot of work for this, but you guys have been really, really cool. And that certainly makes it easier to do this work. So yeah, when we went through there, they had a chance to get him, and we kind of stumbled into McDermott, and nobody knew if he was going to be any good. And again, I don't know that he's amazing, but he is obviously a great culture builder and a great leader at building an infrastructure. He's the exact kind of guy that, whatever disaster for like the Raiders or whoever you want to pick out now, the Browns now, like he's the exact kind of guy that you want to like rebuild a structure of like, hey, here's what success looks like.
Bills are like a top 3 sports organization in like the major sports in terms of sustained success over the last 5 years.
Yes.
Without getting like, we have to preface it. We have to put the asterisk there, right? They haven't done what they're supposed to do, but God, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater of like how much success has been had and how hard it is to do when you look at what it's like the Ravens, Bills, Chiefs are those teams, and probably it's a pretty steep, I think, decline from them.
Caleb here, he actually put the super chat here, but he put the message down below. Thank you all for what you're doing. Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
man.
Caleb, very, very much, man. So here, but one last thing before we get into our awards and the other stuff that we're going to go through. We shared that one thing from Aaron Schatz. Did it make you feel better or feel worse when you found out that the Bills are the best team in DVOA history over any 5-year period to not win a Super Bowl?
Both. It's bittersweet, right? Like, which is fine. Like,
oh, cool.
Yeah. One, it's so frustrating when this stuff happens. I've seen a lot of people on the internet giving DVOA a hard time because the number ones didn't advance, but that's not how data works. I'm sorry that it doesn't tell
Single
you
elimination playoffs.
Correct.
If wonky stuff happens.
It doesn't give you the answer to the puzzle. But it helps you understand things a little bit. And we did see a lot of the high DVOA teams up there in the running. Baltimore's like right there in that same list Schatz shared about teams that have been super good and not been able to close. But yeah, man, I mean, it's tough. It's better, like Von Miller said, like in his press conference, it's better than like knowing you got your butt kicked, right? Like knowing that you lost by 2 and there's just a couple plays, it hurts a little bit longer. But like it's just a wonky game. It's single elimination football. You could be the better team and not advance. And I think that was the case this year. I do think the Buffalo Bills are a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs, and just again didn't have the bounces or the calls or whatever it was to get over the hump in advance. But it shows you how slim the margins are. You can have the better team and a couple things don't go your way, and that's ball game.
So Caleb here, one pass member, enjoying the Discord. Still some civil discussion going on over there. Anyone who'd like to come in and join, I'll be doing a lot of my salary cap prep in there, talking through with people like what my projections are and things before I share them on the show and do that work. One last thing, my friend Rich, who did the fantasy show with us at one point, has been around some different stuff. A huge Cleveland fan. We talked back and forth about, there was a big debate in his the street he lives on. All the guys have like a group chat and they talk back and forth, a lot of gambling stuff back and forth. And they're mostly all Cleveland fans. And they were talking right at the end of our game, right after the game. Would you rather be a Bills fan and get that close, but like, Charlie Lucy with the football pulled out at the last moment? Or would you rather be a Browns fan where you had no expectations and didn't care at all and never got let down because you didn't? And I said, I would definitely pick us. I would definitely pick us. But it was funny. They were debating back and forth about.
Was there even a debate?
Was there? There was mostly joking in that. For them, it's been that they've just pivoted another thing because the Guardians have been fun and the Cavs have been fun.
Yeah, but nothing's cooler than football.
And and Ohio State went on their run. So it was that, like, yep, we just no expectations. I didn't care. There was a couple games where it ruined a couple other people's seasons by losing to us.
NFL's better. We had that. We had that, dude. I remember, I say it all the time, Greg, like, people make fun of Marvin Lewis and the Cincinnati Bengals. I remember being in my 20s and people making fun of Marvin Lewis for never winning playoff games and thinking to myself, like, God. I would love the problems of like, hey, we're in here every year. And so I remember what it was like to be irrelevant, to have an irrelevant team that didn't get primetime games, that didn't get national media attention. I love the spotlight. I love being the darling. I love having big games that everybody wants to see. I love after a Bills Ravens games, them tweeting out 45 million people tuned in to watch my favorite team.
54, I think. Last was a crazy number. It was 45 the week before against Baltimore and 54 million against KC.
Absolutely. And
highest rated non-Super Bowl since like 1984. Yes. Like back when there were only so many channels on TV and all the ratings were hugely spiked because it was there. Like everyone watched that game.
Yeah. I love having Josh Allen, our quarterback, be on Paramount Plus commercials and Gatorade commercials. Down in New York City. Like all this stuff is like, dude, I remember when JP Losman got on USA Today, he was like on the cover of a USA Today and everyone was like, dude, we finally got a guy, right? Like now it's like every day we see Josh Allen on TV.
Oh, yeah.
He's the star. I love this moment, and nobody can drag me down from it. Yeah, again, you're not meeting the ultimate success here, but I have not had more fun being a Bills fan than I have the last 5 years by a lot.
Very, very well said. Very well said. All right, let's switch over. So our topic for today, we are going to go through a couple pieces for the season-ending awards. So we'll go through a few of those and kind of talk through some of the different options. But first, we do want to share for anyone who is crazy enough to want to wager on the Super Bowl, by all means, good luck with where all that stands and what you want to be able to share with any of those. But our friends over there, they shared a tweet that I want to bring up here, and it was, I think, how a lot of Bills fans are feeling, and that it was here. Lamar couldn't, Josh couldn't. All in the hands of the Eagles now to take down the Chiefs. So if you would like to go out there and put some money on the Super Bowl, they do have the Chiefs as a 1.5 point favorite. Use promo code YouTube150. You can get deposit match up to 150% on your first deposit, 125% on your second and third deposits up to $2,000. Go over and check out our friends over there at BetUS for the Super Bowl. Aaron, who is here to help for you with our first award? Do we want to start? Let's start with the lower awards. We'll work our way up. Let's start with Coach of the Year. Who is your Coach of the Year?
Unanimous. This one should be super easy and fly through it. It's Aaron Cromer. And if we could, I would, whatever, like say he's one of those employees is like, hey, I'm thinking like 3 to 5 years left. I'd pay him a super crazy amount of whatever he wants to just do that here. So you're ready to be done. Just be our guy. Super impactful to the offense. Can't lose him. And his name's going to come up here throughout the night a few other times.
100%. Really well said. I have a couple other people who are being acknowledged that he should get credit for. I knew that was going to be the choice, so I did write in, and a special shout out to Kelly Skipper.
Sure.
I don't think he ever gets talked about as one of our better coaches on the staff, and I don't remember a season where I felt as good about our running back group or trio as we had, like back to Marshawn Lynch and CJ Spiller and Fred Jackson, like people when we had combinations of two of those guys. It was the most fun season I remember from a running standpoint. A ton of that because of Aaron Cromer, who is also, I think, is he officially the run game coordinator? Is that part of the title?
I've heard it before. I don't know if that's an official.
I don't know. I don't think it's listed that way on the staff, but certainly, a ton of credit goes to him and the offensive line for how good they look. But I wanted to give a shout out. I don't think Kelly Skipper gets named very much, and all three running backs look great this year. Ty Johnson, obviously, we'll talk about next week. Our show of some of the hardest decisions, and then some of our re-sign candidates. He'll be up there on the re-sign candidates. But yes, I agree 100%. Super easy, Aaron Cromer. Yeah. All right, I'll go first on this one. It was the hardest one because I don't know who to pick. We put Rookie of the Year as one of the awards. Can I choose none of the above? Like, do I have to reward someone? I put Ray Davis. Because I had to pick somebody. Mm-hmm. I think, you probably could make an argument that Keon Coleman produced slightly more than Ray Davis did. So I considered that. Obviously, we saw a flash of Cole Bishop at the end. Dwayne Carter played a little bit. I think we feel decent about Tylen Grable as a swing tackle in the future and maybe a developmental guy for the post Deion Dawkins world. Javon Solomon looks like a rosterable guy, but I went with Ray Davis just because I didn't know who else to pick.
Yeah, I went with Cole Bishop, and I thought it was pretty easy choice for me, actually. Like, I like Ray Davis and I liked what he showed, but I knew he was NFL ready, right from the jump. And as a mid-round running back, I figured the production would be in where about it was. I was excited about him, and I think he met my level of production. Where Cole Bishop, I was super high on. I thought the Bills were higher than I was with where they drafted him, and his story is a little bit unique, right? Of getting injured in the season. I think they had bigger plans for him maybe a little bit earlier on. Wasn't allowed to happen.
getting hurt so early in training camp was definitely something people forget.
Yeah, it really threw him off a little bit. And I'm not saying that he was going to guarantee to get the starting job, but he missed a lot of those early reps throughout the summer here dealing with that. And that's a tough transition for a rookie. And then he was thrown into a tough spot of not having a lot of depth at this position and injury after injury here throughout the year. And when he was first thrown in, it was terrible, about as bad of a start. It was a Peterman-esque start for a safety in terms of just like how bad it could go in your first outing. And I thought he got better every time and really built some positive stuff going forward. And I feel good about him entering with where I think his floor is as a starting safety going into next year. And I think that development is going to be huge for the Bills going forward. I have some concerns at that position. And right now, actually, long-term, he feels like maybe the best part of that room going forward long-term right now, which is we'll get into it in the positions groups, but the injuries with Taylor Rapp and things like that. Cole Bishop felt good to me. So I think he exceeded my expectations, maybe not where the Bills picked him, which made me put him as my rookie of the year.
Yeah, I think perfectly reasonable. Well,
it wasn't flashy. He didn't make the plays I expected, but he played when he settled into the spot, it wasn't a targeted, like he wasn't a reason where like people are like, oh, there's a rookie and we're just going to spam.
Even in this AFC Championship game, like he wasn't picked on from that standpoint. He made a couple like saving tackles.
Yes, nothing crazy hot or like flashing the athleticism, but good plays. Good plays.
Yeah. All right, your turn to go first. Who do you have for most improved?
Spencer Brown. I think this for me was a slam dunk. He was already good and he earned the contract he got, but now he made Brandon Beane look like a genius for getting that contract down before he exploded into who everybody on Brandon Thorne, people that just love football. They just every single week, it seems like he's must watch blocking for people to just drool over.
Nate Tice usually picks out a couple ones. Yeah. Brandon Thorne always does. And like, he's now at the top of the list of, I think he's got some room to go to get to the consistency level that Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson and some of the truly elite right tackles are. But Spencer Brown is now at the top of the list of when he dominates a rep, it's one of the most embarrassing clips of the week. Like he does things to other defensive ends that Penei Sewell and Lane Johnson don't do. Like he ragdolls NFL players, and it is crazy how embarrassing he can be to some of those guys. And he brought his consistency way up. He cut his penalties way down. Was always a dominant run blocker, but now really stepped up in using his athleticism
and
as a
put
right
together
tackle.
Multiple healthy seasons.
Yes.
As well. Like, this is also an Aaron Cromer section here quite a bit too of what he's been able to do with that raw talent that came in, which again, you keep Aaron Cromer, so Brandon Beane can just keep getting freak athletes and Aaron Cromer can turn them out, man.
Absolutely. Keep that. Well, and I mean, it should give people excitement about like the Tylen Grable pick. And so like when we do, and I obviously I know some
bringing
people
Vandermark back, like
Vandermark guys. People will bring up Travis Clayton, the project from there. But like, hey, when you have a guy like, Jordan Mailata isn't Jordan Mailata if they don't have Jeff Stoutland. Like the only guy that I'll give credit as, an even better offensive line coach is Jeff Stoutland. Like he's the only guy that I'll give any acknowledgement of. I think Aaron Cromer is a top 2 offensive line coach in the NFL only because Jeff Stoutland is amazing and has kind of taken that Dante Scarnecchia role that New England had forever. And Aaron Cromer is right there in that tier. And Jordan Mailata is not Jordan Mailata if they didn't have Jeff Stoutland go into like the school of Stoutland that, Jason Kelsey talks about all the time. So Aaron Cromer now, again, I don't think Travis Clayton's going to turn into that. But when you have somebody like Aaron Cromer, like keep giving him these awesome, crazy, raw athletes and see what he does. Just see what he turns them into. We'll see where it goes.
We got time for him to just develop some people.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So obviously I agree 100%. Spencer Brown was right there. I debated a couple other players who I think also deserve some acknowledgement. I have them coming up in some other different areas.
I saw James Cook get some love. My pushback to that is I think James Cook was like top 2 efficiency in the NFL the year before too. So like he did improve in touchdowns and stuff, but I feel like he was just as good of a back.
When the reason he wasn't my most improved is he's my non-Josh Allen MVP.
Okay.
So for my non-Josh Allen MVP, I put James Cook. And I, I think there are other guys who had really good seasons. Some guys I'll mention in some other spots here. But when you have 20, 21, 22 touchdowns on the season with the playoffs, 22 touchdowns is special.
It's a lot.
Like that is special territory. So in the regular season, another 1,300 yards, awesome games in the playoffs. 22 touchdowns is awesome. So my non-Josh Allen MVP, of course, Josh Allen's MVP. So that Aaron and I name it the NJA MVP because it would be too easy just to pick Josh Allen for everything. I did go with James Cook. I think there's some guys who deserve mention, who I'm sure you will. But that was my guy. I went with James Cook as my non-Josh Allen MVP.
I like that. I struggled with this one a little bit. I landed on Deion Dawkins as my non-Josh Allen MVP.
Great choice.
I think he's talking about Spencer Brown being improved. I think Deion has stepped up to a whole nother level, and not just another level of play. I think he's a leader in this locker room, which is such a cool sort of character arc for Deion Dawkins to come in and be in that fun-loving, tough brute, kind of a high energy guy, and just over time has taken over the leadership of that room. And we've seen consistency now over the last 2 years. And I think he really is the leader and the pulse of that offensive line. And the offensive line, I think, dictated so much of the success that we saw from this offense this year, whether it was the run game success, Josh Allen being this quarterback that's talked about as like an unsackable guy. He adds a lot to that, but this offensive line did a good job for him. It was present every time that this team was playing at its best. It was present that the offensive line was the cog that kind of seems to make it go. And I think he's the best lineman on that. So to me, the next most valuable in line.
I like it. So we wanted to have a little bit more because there's only so many awards that we can give out. So we also wanted to have kind of a, I don't know if it's who we're up on or who's a stock up or stock down. I'll let you lead off here. I tried to do one on offense and one on defense. Mm-hmm. So you can pick your choice, whether you want to go up or down or offense or defense. You go first.
All right. I will go. I'll start with guys I'm up on. We'll start with some positive news. I'll start on the offense side of the ball. And it was your rookie of the year. Ray Davis is a guy I'm up on. And hoping to see a bigger workload. He's a bit of an older back. He doesn't need the development. He's shown what he can do in the NFL. Let's run some till the run the tires till the wheels fall off on a guy like this. We're not going to sign him to another contract, so get it all out of him now is how I feel.
Yeah, 100% agree. I was just looking. This is James Cook's third season and Ray Davis's rookie season. And James Cook is like 6 weeks older than Ray Davis. So he definitely took the scenic route through college and came in as a veteran. But I don't care because we don't sign running back second contracts. You'll hear that from me here coming up in this offseason.
I don't know. Something's changing me. We'll see. We might fight about that.
No. And so I will openly say anyone who wants to re-sign James Cook has plenty of ammo to do so. The market makes sense for running backs. He's been awesome. He just scored 22 freaking touchdowns. I'll believe it when I see it.
I know. I get it.
We've never done it. We have not only have we never done it, we have had the cheapest running back room in the NFL for 5 years. We don't ever sign anyone to any money in the running back room. We let Zach Moss go. We let Devin Singletary go. We rinse, repeat over and over and over again. James Cook is playing better than any of those guys have. So he's going to create a different decision for being than what he's had in the past. I'll still believe it when I see it. And I assume that in 2026, our backfield will be Ray Davis and the third or fourth round pick from that year at running back and maybe Ty Johnson.
I'm going to advocate. I understand what you're saying. That all makes sense. It's all logical. I'm going to advocate against logic.
Yeah, and wanting him to be the guy who breaks the trend is totally reasonable. Yeah. He looks really like, I totally get the, it was 28 out of 30. Josh has gotten so many of those tush pushes. James Cook was running awesome. We probably could have given him the ball one of those fourth, give him a chance to create a little bit. He reached out and crossed the goal line with his arm. I wouldn't have mind giving him a shot at one of those.
Yeah.
My up on offense was a guy that I apologized to earlier this year is Connor McGovern.
Mhm.
A guy that now named to the Pro Bowl, deservedly, played really, really well, played with a hurt snapping arm most of this season. Like, the arm that he snaps the football with was hurt most of the year, and he still was awesome. Just a guy that I'm really, really excited to be a part of this offense, and that is probably the extension candidate that I hear talked about the least.
Yeah.
He is a priority extent. He is right there with. So we list off the rookies because they're only signed, not rookies, but the rookie contract guys,
Right.
Rousseau, Benford, Shakir, Bernard, and Cook all get talked about all the time, rightfully, because they're coming up here. Connor McGovern is also coming up here. He's right there with plenty. Like, you could make an argument for me, he should be like third on that list or something of the priority of re-signing him. He is a huge priority for me to get re-signed, and a guy that I want is a part of this team all season long, and a guy that I think would be, a huge piece of this. He did not give up a sack the entire season. He did not give up one sack the whole season. Some of those numbers can be wonky. Josh Allen helps a ton with that. He did not give up a ton of pressures, had a very good rate. He was second on the team behind Spencer Brown in pressure rate. He was actually 0.1 ahead of Deion Dawkins. Deion Dawkins was 97.8. Connor McGovern was 97.9. That was in pass rush, pass blocking efficiency. So for as much as we love Deion Dawkins, and, tackles harder than center, there's, context to that. Connor McGovern was great this season, and I was very worried about him. So he's my stock up because I feel really, really good, and I want him to be the pivot for Josh Allen. And I love the fact that we can kind of pair them together. They're the same age. McGovern's actually a couple months younger than Josh. So he's a guy that I'd like to have paired up with Josh for another nice, give me 5 more years of those two together.
Yep, I love it.
All right. Let's alternate. Let's do a stock down. I will do stock down on offense. I did put Dalton Kincaid. I think that, expectations are an individual thing, so I certainly am at my own mercy of, I had high expectations for him. I really thought, I wasn't even extrapolating. I was just saying, hey, last year, there was 13 games after he came back from injury as a rookie. He was on pace for 112 targets, and we lost, Stephon Diggs. And to go from that to this year having, he had 75 targets also in 13 games. His blocking seemed to regress. There are, I don't want to say excuses, there are explanations of Josh just unlucky, missing him on some bigger plays that would certainly help some of those numbers. But he also had more drops than he did the year before. It was, I was over, I inflated his expectations too much of how much he would improve from his rookie season to his sophomore season. I don't know anyone who expected him to pretty materially regress in virtually every metric. And that makes me concerned. Obviously, stuff's come out that he was playing through a knee injury, water on the other knee, swelling on the other knee, some stuff in his hands. Like, I hope that's it. I hope that's what it was. But a guy that I was pretty legitimately excited about, and now I'm wondering, like, I don't think he's a bum. Like, I think he's an NFL starter, but I'm now in the mode of like, oh, is he Jake Ferguson? Is he Dalton Schultz? Do we just kind of have like a, hey, he's a starting tight end technically? Maybe, I didn't expect like, oh, he's probably not even Dallas Goedert. Like, I was kind of hoping for something better than that. So again, we had some promise in the rookie season, a pretty clear step back in the sophomore season here. Let's see what happens. Spencer Brown really broke out in his third year. I don't want to pretend.
Really broke out.
Yeah, Groot broke out afterwards. Ed Oliver had an awesome fourth season. I'm still patient. We still have multiple years here to have him here, and I'm hopeful there's more. But I am now more concerned than
Sure.
excited, and I was way more excited than concerned before.
Yeah, I think rookie development is a weird thing. It's definitely not always linear as we would like it to be. You brought up some examples of guys that have popped in that year 3, and Bills really talk about that a lot, actually, like the 3-year window to really judge development. I think that's going to be a lot of the conversation this offseason is Dalton Kincaid's 3rd-year development is going to matter a lot into that position going forward. Knox, I think, is a little bit better than people give him credit for it too, and that he's always associated to the contract. You're paying him what you're paying him, but I think the unit as a whole is good. I like the unit as a whole, but yeah, I think when it comes down to where expectations were at and who met those or not, I think I also have him as my arrow down on offense. The other person that I had listed, and I want to be careful how to frame this, Greg, because he's a rookie, and so my expectations weren't high, but then early in the season got high and then kind of just like disappeared at the end of the season. Is Keon Coleman felt super inconsistent to me this year. And not that I'm not down on him, but I'm not as high as I was in like week 4 or 5 of the season when it was like, oh, he's mossing people. And there seems to be a connection with he and Josh. And then after his injury, he kind of struggled to find his place in this kind of like, as Mia Kime said, target agnostic offense. Didn't really see, we talked a lot about Keon Coleman not finding his snaps and targets in this offense, or Amari Cooper not finding those in this offense. I think Keon Coleman also struggled towards the end of the year, and we didn't talk about it as much because the expectations weren't as high.
Yeah, I think that's well said, and I think let me look here's 11. So in the first 8 games of the season, he had 24 catches, and in the last 8 games of the season, his was 16 with the playoffs because making up for the games he missed due to injury, he had 11 catches. So 24 in the first half, 11 in the second half. That's not normally the progression that you're looking for as a rookie. I'm still we knew he was kind of raw coming in. He's still very young. I still think there's reason to be excited, but
I was hoping that like by the way he was trending, that by end of the year was like, we got like a wide receiver 2, like a real, we got that position figured out. And I still feel like maybe we do, but there's a lot to go.
There was a stretch there where he went for 51 yards, 49, 26 was a low, but then 125, 70, 21, 64. And like during that stretch, it was like, okay, hey, we got something going here. We're doing something. Then ending the season 1 for 17, 3 for 27, 2 for 31, 1 for 5, 1 for 5, 1 for 12. Certainly not the trend that we were looking for to end the season here.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. Who is your up for defense?
Up for defense is going to feel very similar to rookie of the year because it's Cole Bishop. I'm trending up to Cole Bishop. I think that he checked the boxes that I needed to see for being a starting caliber player heading into year 2, which is exactly where my expectations were. And so he's met those expectations. And then I had a couple other guys, but I want to see if there are any of the people that you picked.
Okay. So my up for defense was Ed Oliver. I put Ed because
finished the year great.
Yeah, and he showed what I needed to see in that. Hey, we were really, really excited. There was some inconsistency early on, and I think that there was rightfully like some question there.
He was hurt early too, though.
Oh yeah, he was the anti Keon Coleman in that he ended the season with a huge flurry, and I think he had 24 pressures in the last 6 games. Like that is a really, really strong pace to finish the year. Consistently, pushing things around, wreaking havoc. He crushed Patrick Mahomes on that one play that he got there, and he's gonna. That's a big reason you saw him get single teamed, 1-on-1 blocked when he blew by that guy and then crushed Mahomes. You're going to see a lot of talk from both Aaron and I about free agency and the draft. I want to just surround behemoths around him. I want big, powerful, huge guys. No offense, or we love Daquan Jones, but I need young prime Daquan Jones. We're going to be looking for a lot of that here to to say that. Shout out to our friends over the Rock Power Report. Drew and Chris are both there. Drew said he wanted to make it clear that we both look like hell. We appreciate
I've
that.
seen Drew's face, so I'm not super worried.
I'll take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. My hell is his best day. Love you guys.
So yeah, Ed Oliver was my stock up, just in the sense that I'm wearing a rug with an umbrella. Right?
It does. Now I can't unsee it.
Now you can't unsee it. So I like Ed. I'm really happy to have him here. I think it showed that we need that piece next to him. And that's going to be a big priority this
It was
offseason,
a bummer because this time last year it was like, can we get Daquan Jones back? Like, and it just didn't meet where we needed it to be. He had some good reps at the end too, but I think it's just there's not a lot of gas left in the tank.
Who else did you have on there?
I had Dorian Williams as my
Adam. There was with you.
Yeah, not quite enough there, but I saw it, and even in this last game, like he has some reps, and I think he's trending in the right direction. I'm excited to see what year 3 brings him.
Shout out to the one. It's a good example of the hustle and the crazy athleticism. I didn't realize this until somebody pointed out on the big return from Regilio, or however you say his name, on KC. Dorian Williams flies by him earlier and kind of misses the tackle as a gunner, and then all of a sudden you see like this flash at the end that catches up and knocks him out of bounds and stops it from being a touchdown. Was Dorian Williams. Like he missed the tackle and dove and was on the ground and came back and chased him down and made the tackle to stop it from being a touchdown. I wish I could harness that athleticism in coverage a little bit more. But I will say, in the same way we talked about wait for third year with Dalton Kincaid, we saw Terrell Bernard progress, we saw other things. I'm open to coaching in that we could harness that, because very clearly, did you see the other rep? I think Ant shared it on one of his clips where he absolutely destroyed Jawan Taylor on like the one run stop that I think it ended up being like Milano and Bernard maybe flipped Kareem Hunt like on his face.
Eric had shared it, and
I
came in. I
think it was Bishop and Milano that came in and made the tackle, but it was because like Dorian Williams just took a running start and just like literally knocked a tackle back on his butt in like a yard deep in the backfield. It just shows the explosive ability and ceiling that's there. I've been very critical of him. He has been a liability when he's out there in coverage. If we can somehow harness what is very clearly some elite athleticism and elite explosiveness, if we can harness that and coach that up to be able to recognize a little bit better in coverage, maybe we do have something really fun and special. Because obviously the post Matt Milano world is not that far off. I don't think it's next season. We're going to talk about it in next week's show on our tough, difficult decisions coming up here. But maybe there is something there that he could be a part of that's coming up. I like it.
All right, we got one last down.
One last one down. I put secondary depth. I put everybody behind Taryn and Christian Bedford in my mind. I'm not out on Cole Bishop at all. I may be a slight notch below you, where my perception is I don't know if we have anyone else on the roster that I care if they start or not. That I'm like gonna pound the table that, oh no, that guy has to get it. Like that people are trying to find an opportunity to get Dorian Williams on the field. Like, oh my God, should we sit Taron Johnson sometime, or is it time to move on from Matt Milano? I wish I had a guy in the secondary where I'm like fighting to try to figure, oh my God, how do we get this guy on the field? How can we get more reps for this guy? Like we have a bunch of, that's fine. Like Jamarcus Ingram is a great story for a guy who was undrafted and has carved out a role on special teams and technically depth. Cam Lewis is a nice piece that has earned himself a roster spot and that is a, kind of a backup nickel and kind of a backup safety. I want either of them to play. Rasul Douglas has clearly shown that we're kind of at the end of that run, and that I don't think he's going to be a priority to re-sign here coming up this season. We'll see what the numbers are and where they feel about him. Taylor Rapp, I think, has been probably the most dependable out of that group, but has showed it's really hard to keep him on the field all the time. DeMar
So you're
Hamlin's
not a big Daquan Hardy stan like me? Is that what you're saying? No.
That is exactly, that's where this maybe Brandon Codrington is the sneaky one. Patton had brought up here, we left him out of the rookie discussions. He probably deserved as much credit for any of the rookies as anybody. He had a nice rookie season too.
I actually almost had him there, but the team didn't seem to think that he was a priority in the biggest games and that they could get away with not having to have a
I also wondered, I do think that there is some roster arbitrage at the very end. And we don't know exactly where he was from a hamstring standpoint and how serious that one was. But yes, I agree. I didn't mention it, but it deserved a shout out. So just second, like I think, Cole Bishop has shown flashes, and I'm sure he's going to be in position to compete to start next year and will be the reason that we probably let DeMar Hamlin walk in free agency because we invested a pick there. But, if you told me that we signed this year's Taylor Rapp or some other, maybe this year's Mike Edwards guy works out, and that you told me they beat out Cole Bishop next year in camp, I would be like, oh my God, no way. There's no way that's going to happen. I just, once we get past Taryn and Christian Benford, I just don't have some, I wish I'm so excited about guys. I think we have guys in our depth and offensive line that could have started for a dozen other teams in the league. I wish I felt that way about our depth in the secondary.
Mine is probably with you because I had 3 names here, and it was Kyer Elam, Rasul Douglas, and Taylor Rapp were my downs. So similar train of thought there. That I do think that we've been talking a lot about meat and getting guys in the middle of this defense. I actually think this offseason is a bit of a big push on corners, safeties, getting probably 3 to 4 defensive backs.
Huge defensive tackles and really fast corners. I'm tired of having coach them up lengthy but slow corners. I'd like a guy who could run with people. That would be fun.
Well, it was supposed to be Kyrie Elam, but it didn't happen. It's a tough one. I'm sneaky in that conversation. You said DeMar Hamlin might be gone. The more I'm thinking about it, I think with Taylor Rapp's injury history and the lack of his availability actually has put him on this list for me as a down. I won't be shocked if they bring Hamlin back as that Mike Edwards, vet on a cheap deal.
I am certain that Brandon Beane is going to make DeMar Hamlin an offer. They're going to give him a number and say, hey, if you go out and beat this, God bless you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, if you can be a starter somewhere else, but we'll take you back.
Here's our number.
That when Taylor Rapp hurts himself again, we need somebody for 8 weeks, and we trust you. It'll be a low end safety like him anyway, and so might as well bring back the guy and that's sort of where I'm at with that. But I agree with you. Don't feel great. Need more depth. Rasul Douglas really showed off his age as well here. He was that guy a year ago that made you feel really good. He seemed to hit a wall with age and lacking that speed now. And maybe, I know people talk about that stuff all the time. I don't think the transition is as easy, but maybe it's time to, make a decision where maybe you keep a Rasul Douglas, but move him to a safety type role and change.
I'm open to it.
Change his path a little bit. But they need faster, younger corners. Yeah. And I am going to start the Daquan Hardy hype train this summer. I wasn't joking with you there.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for it. All right. Of course, we already went almost an hour. I can't believe it. We're disgusting. Any final thoughts for the people before we close it out here?
No, I already started getting into free agency and sort of just taking an overhaul look at this roster. It's not that bad. There's not a lot of holes. The focus points are going to be pretty easy to hyper focus in on. There's going to be plenty of ways to add to the perceived issues that we have. So I'm excited to get there. I'm not totally there yet. I am still in that funk that I showed earlier on, but we will come here quick and excited to get into this offseason with you, Greg.
100%. So if you guys are excited, the next couple weeks, we're obviously going to be going through some of those different shows. Next week, we'll be ranking our pending Bills free agents, going through the guys that are coming up and that we need to choose whether to resign or not. We'll be ranking our top priorities. The weekend after, we'll be doing toughest roster questions. So looking at some of those ones where is there another Black Wednesday coming? What do we have
Von
coming up
Miller,
there?
what
Then
are
we
we
get
doing
into
with
our
Vaughn?
our offensive wish list, defensive wish list, and then reacting free agency. We're already there, as Aaron said. The one good news is we're already there with the end of the season, and flitting right into it. So, on behalf of everybody here at Cover One, our friends at BetUS want to remind you to gamble responsibly. Make sure you check out all of our lovely friends over William Attar Law Offices. Hurt in a car, call William Attar 844-444-4444. But on behalf of Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I'm Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.